Porch.
How you doing?
How you doing today, Chief?
Good, sir. Good. Thank you.
Oh man. So first off, I always like to get right into it. I want to know. Tell me a little bit about yourself, Chief.
Sure. Born and raised in Mansfield. Graduated from senior high in
Mansfield Senior High
Yes,
Tiger.
sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Graduated in 1993. Immediately upon graduation, I entered the police academy, and in 1994, I was hired as a Richland County Sheriff's Deputy. At the time, I was the youngest in the state as a deputy sheriff. So I felt very fortunate that I could serve in that capacity. So to be a deputy sheriff, you have to be 18 years of age.
Okay.
To work at the city municipality or a state agency, you had to be 21.
Right.
So my plan was to initially do a couple years with the sheriff's office and then transition over to Mansfield Police.
Nice.
But almost 6 years later, I stayed with the sheriff's office in 1999. I then was hired as a city police officer with Mansfield.
Nice.
Yes.
So 93. So you know my brother. You know Effie.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's my big brother.
Oh, yeah. Did not know that.
Yeah, that's my big brother. Yep. Yeah. I think at 93, I'm like, oh yeah, you guys are Pete Henry all day.
Yes. Yes. The old building.
The old building. Yeah.
Where are you? You just froze year round. So. Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, what's the day like in the life of a Mansfield City Police Chief?
Oh, and that's kind of tough to sum up, but I will tell you that it's heavy administrative tasks. So every day that I'm whether I have chief reports that are sent to me from all watches of the shifts and sections, like the detective section.
Yeah.
So of course I'm constantly communicating with either the mayor, the safety director, and council or citizens during the daily communications of emails of certain issues that pop up. So I got to make sure folks are on task, completing assignments as they need to complete them. And obviously, a big part of my job is budgeting. So, I have nearly a $16 million budget. I oversee 100 and at this, depending on up and down of personnel, but right now 125 employees. Now that's both sworn and unsworn staff. So if we were fully staffed, I would be in the neighborhood of about 145 to 150 employees to deal with. Now, when I first entered police administration, I was told, you won't be able to get out in the street and work as much as you used to. A lot of your daily tasks are going to be tied to personnel issues.
Correct.
And that is absolutely has held true. Clearly as the chief of police, I have to make sure our policies and procedures are being followed, and when they're not, a big part of the duty that falls on me is discipline within a division. So, which is the ugly part of the job. So, but that's something that needs to be done to make sure that we're maintaining the policies and procedures and being professional.
Nice. Okay. And going right into that, so what would you say? Like I said, I would say, how much is your divide between an operational police chief versus political? Like operationally, meaning like, am I going to catch you when they kicking the door in, or out there, on the front line, or do we just kiss babies?
Well, a lot of it's kissing babies, to be honest with you. So for our size of department, which is a middle-sized department, as when you look across the United States. Now, there are smaller police departments, like I will take, for example, like Lexington Police or Belleville Police. Those departments have working chiefs.
Correct.
So not only are they responsible for the administrative staff or issues of the department, they have to go out and do patrol functions.
Nice.
Now, I like to get out to be in patrol as much as I can, but I can tell you that I'm inundated with kissing the babies, so to speak. So that's essentially the difference.
Got it. Okay, I like that. It's good that you won't, you like to be out there, and you kind of, because it kind of touch base with everybody. Like, it's not uncommon. You may get so many people that, and what I mean, law enforcement or police. Certain cities have police captains, and they're too political.
Yes.
It's really good that you don't have a problem coming out into the communities and neighborhoods and being on the front line.
Sure.
I like that.
So, the large police departments, they have districts or precincts.
Yeah.
So typically those precincts or districts are commanded by, as you say, captains. So they're essentially the police chiefs of those districts or precincts.
Yes.
And obviously they answer to the police chief, but who is downtown in a city. But but when you're talking the realm of when you have 2,000 plus officers. Now, if you take Columbus, for example, they're right around 2,400 officers.
Okay.
So that's that's a large police department.
Yeah.
But when you go to other states, can you imagine New York City? There's 50,000 officers.
It's a lot.
That's the city of Mansfield.
Yeah.
It would be the New York Police Department.
Exactly. Wow.
So I mean that's I'm thankful I can handle what I can handle.
Yes.
And I like the issues of Mansfield instead of trying to tackle the city of New York.
Exactly. So going right into issues, how does the police prioritize the things in the neighborhood of policing that make you guys feel like, okay, we're doing good at this, and this? And so I would say we're keeping the community safe. How do you prioritize those topics?
So a part of my administrative staff of every year, I have to set goals and objectives for the division.
Okay.
Now, of course, my number one top goal within the every year is trying to reduce Part 1 crimes. Now, I'm sure your question would be, what are Part 1 crimes?
Yes.
So these crimes there are 7 crimes which are obviously deal with our homicide, manslaughter. They're the arsons, the sex crimes, and then you have the thefts, your burglaries and your larcenies. So those matrix are what is every police department in this country has to send on an annual basis to the FBI.
Yes.
The FBI publishes these Part 1 crimes and on how police departments or the cities or counties where they sit in relation to Part 1 crimes.
Okay.
So I always want a reduction in those Part 1 crimes.
Yeah.
Now, sitting to the top of those are obviously anytime you're talking about homicides or deaths involving violence. Now, apart from the major Part 1 crime, my next tier would be quality of life issues.
Okay.
So you have to address those, and that is the drug trafficking, drug dealing, and the criminal damagings in a neighborhood or damaging to vehicles. So those things that draw a lot of police attention of when citizens are calling the police to say, hey, I have fights, I have drug dealing, I have, not the top tier crimes, but those, I essentially call them quality of life issues.
Right.
That needs to be addressed in a neighborhood.
Yes, I like that. I like when you say quality of life, because that is so important that, we try to ensure our community and the people in the community have a good quality of life. And when these things that those topics you were just talking about are out of hand, quality of life is horrible. And that creates, then you want to go down a rabbit hole of not only crimes, murder, suicide, and everything else. Because of all quality of life.
Absolutely.
I like that. So, unsolved homicides and gun violence versus drugs. Is this a separate focus, or kind of do they go hand in hand?
Sometimes they do go hand in hand. That is not always the case. So I will start off with our current year of 23. So we currently sit at 7 homicides. Now, 2 of those homicides have been solved and are going to obviously at some point go through the court system. So we sit with 5 unsolved homicides. Now, I can tell you, for the size of the police department Mansfield is, I have 5 detectives, including my supervisor staff in the bureau. That would tax any detective
Yeah.
section. So, you know, we used to sit at a detective section of almost 12 investigators with supervision.
Yeah.
So when, because our staffing is not what it once was, and
Yeah.
we can go into that
Yeah.
to give you a perspective.
Yeah.
But when you have 5 that are unsolved, I can assure you that the tasks that those are required to follow up on
Yeah.
are daunting, and it's definitely taxing my investigators.
Yes.
Which led to me to have to reach out to the other law enforcement agencies in Richland County, including the sheriff, to ask if I could have their investigators
Pull them all in.
pull them in to help our
Yes.
to help our people.
Yes.
Now, since it's a Mansfield case, a Mansfield detective will be the lead investigator, but it would be no like just me pulling you saying, "Hey, I need you to go get A, B, C."
Yeah.
So what I did not want is for us in our detective section just to focus on the last homicide.
Correct.
So I need these equally investigated. I needed all leads followed and tracked down and followed up on, and to go to where we hit a stopping wall of doing everything we can. So, you know, I'm proud of the men and women. They're working hard. I know they're frustrated because you know, when I was a detective, there's nothing more than a detective wants is to solve a case.
Yes.
And you know, because you have a family grieving. You have somebody that's on the loose that has the potential to kill again.
Kill again.
So
Kill again,
we want to remove those folks from our
Yes.
streets. And I can tell you the absolute priority that I have, which I have addressed in our divisional training to all members and sworn staff, that gun violence. Gun violence is a top priority.
Yes.
And we will go where it needs to go to bring that to a conclusion. So they definitely know how I feel about that, and I've been proud on the work that they've been doing.
Nice. And speaking of, you know, going into the gun violence, like for yourself being in law enforcement as many years and how long you've been in law enforcement, have you ever seen in the city of Mansfield so much happening at such a short period of time?
I'm glad you mentioned that. That is an excellent question. So, you know, my whole career has been within Richland County, Mansfield. And have we had homicides? Have we had shootings?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we are no different than any other city similar to our size.
Correct.
So we've had our issues in that respect. The thread that, and this is my opinion, what I'm seeing is there's no more fist fights.
Correct. Yes.
The fist fights, the days of the fist fights, or somebody fighting, which is horrible or wrong in itself.
Yeah.
But when you put it in relation to, well, now I pick up a gun, and now the gun will solve.
That's right.
And it seems to me like maybe life has become a little cheaper.
Yes.
And over the things that I hear that people die over are homicides. You know, like I was disrespected. Or somebody disrespected my girlfriend or said something. And that leads to somebody losing their life.
Exactly.
So, you know, in my younger days in law enforcement, that used to be a street fight. Now, somebody went to the hospital, somebody got a ticket, somebody went to jail, but both were alive. So I can sense that it just seems, in that respect, life is a little cheaper, and what people are willing to throw their life away.
Yes.
Because really, and I think we both know, it's a tragedy on both sides.
Yes.
You have somebody that's lost their life, and then you have somebody that's in prison.
That's right.
For the rest of
both
their life.
sides. I always say that. Yeah.
So and there's just no winners in that group.
Exactly. You know, how have you been getting a lot of blowback from like a lot of families that really want answers and they're questioning is the police giving it all the effort, or is it because of a certain thing? Is it because it's a black crime, or it's because it's black on black crime, or it's because it's a drug crime? Or have you been getting blowback from the families about how much?
With the most recent homicides, but I'll tell you that anytime we have a homicide, I mean that, I have never had a loved one killed in that type of situation. And every time we have a homicide, of course, there's family, they want answers, and they want that solved in a matter of minutes, as the police want that. But what's most important in those investigations, I got to make sure my investigators are doing the right things.
Correct.
Making sure that we have identified the right folks and have presented a good and great case to the Richland County prosecutor.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, it does no good to jump to conclusions and then you make errors and you have somebody that sits in prison that should not be in prison, did not commit a crime. So there's a balancing act there. Although my heart goes out to the victims, families. You know, like to your point, there was a father that called me on one of these. I did a press conference, so to the media. And the common thread was these homicides drug related? Were they gang related? And in a general sense, there's a lot, detectives hear a lot of theories. And yes, have we heard, were they gang related? Were they drug related? Were they, because it was boyfriend girlfriend drama? We have heard all those things. Until we can absolutely prove that, we can't come out and say that, nor would I come out and say that.
Correct.
Now, in a general sense, I gave that opinion to the media. So the father calls and says, I feel because of these homicides that happened, the 3 happened in a relatively short period of time, less than a week, I feel that my son is being ramped up or put into this drug business. And my son was not involved in drugs. And to that point, I said, sir, it is a general sense of the theories that we heard. I would never say that your son was involved in drug trafficking, which led to him losing his life, unless I had the absolute proof or the evidence to suggest that's what took place.
That's right.
So he appreciated the explanation, and I can, after thinking about that, I could definitely see how a family member could feel and believe that their loved one was being put into a jar of he was involved or they were involved in illegal activity, which led to them losing their life. So, which is why I tried to keep that in a general sense. So I mean, I'll tell you that it's absolutely one of the hardest things to do is when you talk to a loved one that lost somebody in a violent crime. And I can never ever pretend to know the pain and the struggle that those folks go through.
It's definitely tough.
I mean, the job I want to do is obviously provide justice for that family, but the justice the right way, the legal way to remove that person from the street.
And you know what, just listening to you talk about that, it definitely, you're passionate about getting the results and making sure these family members do feel at ease with what's going on, feel like the Mansfield Police is giving the right justice, and I appreciate that, and definitely that's important, how you communicate, because I know it's a lot of families that be coming at you, definitely. Moving on to the shot spotter, am I correct on that?
Yes,
shot spotter. Okay. What was it about the shot spotter that made this a system we wanted to implement here in the city?
So I was at the International Chiefs of Police conference and visited their booths. So any of the new technologies that come out in law enforcement, is typically at these conferences. So I got some information. I knew I needed to know more about the
Yeah.
technology, because as you and I know, technology is technology.
Yes.
And it can work.
Yeah.
And it could not
Exactly.
work. So I knew the expense of ShotSpotter was extreme.
Yeah.
Now, at that time, Columbus Police, Cincinnati, and Toledo Police had ShotSpotters. So I took my command staff up to Toledo Police. We met with the Toledo chief, and I wanted to see, because I could get the sales pitch from the salesman, and I know what they're trying to do is just to make a sale.
Yeah.
So I need to know how it works. Does it work? I need to know the feeling from the officers, from the citizens.
Yeah.
What input did the citizens have? Was there pushback within Toledo, or from the mayor's office, from the political stakeholders in Toledo? So I wanted to get a good look into that aspect and from the sales pitch.
Yeah.
And I walked away after hearing the results that Toledo had from them implementing ShotSpotter, to thinking, well, that is something that I believe that I need to take to Mansfield.
Okay.
Now, the major hurdle for us was cost.
Yeah.
Now, typically for one square mile of coverage area for ShotSpotter is almost $80,000 a year.
Okay.
Now, as I met with the ShotSpotter folks, and I said, smaller, medium-sized police departments do not have the budgets like Toledo, Cleveland, Columbus.
Yeah.
The larger police departments, there needs to be a lower cost of tier for mid-size police departments.
Yes.
Which after several conversations, they did do that.
Yeah.
Now, the reality for Mansfield is I could not support the cost of ShotSpotter with my operating budget. It was going to have to be through grant dollars.
Okay.
Which we submitted for a grant, and we received $50,000.
Yeah.
So their tier price for us was $49,500.
Okay.
So I told ShotSpotter we will do a test, an evaluation of the ShotSpotter system for 1 square mile.
Got it.
For 1 year.
Okay.
For one, I want to see if it's a benefit to the Mansfield Police, to the citizens, and to see if it works, to put it through its paces, and to see, and then we would go from there.
Yeah.
So how we judged, because I know Chicago had issues where they said, well, you put ShotSpotter into neighborhoods of color.
Yeah.
You are putting that technology to mess with minority folks.
Yeah.
So once I had seen what was going on in Chicago, as I was working with ShotSpotter, we based the sensors off of the gun crime stats and gun violence that we had in our city.
Yeah.
So I had my crime analyst would plot where we were having shots fires, where we were having folks shot, and anything where we were getting guns off of folks.
Yeah.
So after that data is how we plotted where the 1 square miles of coverage.
Yeah.
So that it was important to me that it was placed where data supported it.
Yes.
That it was evidence-based data.
Yes.
Not that Keith Porch, the chief, says, well, we're putting it in North Lake.
Exactly.
Or we're just putting it where I want to put it. I wanted it based off of data.
Yes.
So after the first year, I can tell you, when we flipped that switch on, and there's no more a skeptic of technology than me, because I want whatever we buy, or whatever anybody buys, they want it to work.
Yeah.
So within the first week, we had an incident on the south side of town. Shots were fired. Officers were there within a matter of seconds, was able to save a victim's life, to apply a tourniquet. So immediately right there, within a week, sold me.
Yes.
Now, we had to change policy. So as soon as those sensors go off, it immediately notifies the officer in the cruiser and dispatch.
Yes.
So typically, when we had shots fired before, a caller would call the Mansfield Police Department and say, hey, I heard 2 or 3 shots, and I think it was down the street.
Yeah.
because sometimes we would have folks, well, was that fireworks?
Yeah.
Or was that really gunfire? Or maybe somebody else called. So we weren't getting calls.
Right.
We needed the true story of gunplay
Okay.
within the city of Mansfield, but it's really not the city of Mansfield,
Mm-hmm.
within that 1 square miles of the sensors.
Yeah.
So now when those shots would go off, it would immediately hit the officers' computers in the car, and they would not wait for dispatch.
Got
They
it.
immediately go to the scene.
Yeah.
They don't go to a queue of priorities within the dispatch
Got it.
of waiting for the dispatcher to dispatch them
Exactly.
to the scene. So we have found huge benefits to that.
Yeah.
So once the year was approaching for us, we received additional grant dollars. Well, now we're at 3 square miles of coverage. So right now, whether if it was grants or the operation budget of the police department, we look at a price tag of $150,000 a year for 3 square miles of shot spotter.
Okay.
Now that is not cheap,
Yeah.
and it's never my intent to bring something here that works well, because I want to make sure we're able to sustain it, not
Yes.
just flip the switch on and then in a matter of a year, oh, we can't afford it.
Correct. Yeah.
Let's turn it off.
Turn it off. Yeah.
So we're very diligent in getting grant dollars. Believe me, I will always try to leverage state and federal funds, which I know the mayor and city council appreciates. But at some point, we'll have to make a decision of,
Correct.
because I hope grant funds and dollars last forever.
Yeah.
But they could say we're no longer supporting it. And then it would fall to the operations budget of the city, and then we'll have to make a decision.
Yeah.
Either we carry on with it or we do not.
Exactly. And so far, into the second part of the question, the results, have they been more effective in some of these recent shootings that ShotSpotter has been getting?
So yes, so it takes the guesswork out. So when a shot goes off, it'll pinpoint that shot within 82 feet.
Okay.
So I could be next to an officer and we would hear a shot go off, and somebody, well, I believe it was down the street over here. Because of the echoes, the sounds. So it takes the guesswork out. It'll pull the report. They'll do a forensic report of where these shots are. So I can tell you, yes, they've been a huge benefit in our gun crime incidents.
Yes, good. Nice. One thing about it, it's always, when we, now we hear shots and we always judge it oh, that's on the south side, or that's over here and that's that here. But I think it's so good that now we can get immediate action, and I think that's very important because, eventually we want the technology, we want Minority Report, Tom Cruise technology eventually.
Yeah.
But, to be able to pinpoint, okay, this is where it's coming from, let's get after it right now.
Absolutely.
And then we can dive more into what's going on. I mean, I think, look from the outside looking in, us as people, we want the police work, the detective work, and everything done in spot shooter.
Sure.
Spot shooter. We want all that done. So we want this machine to say, oh, the shot's shot here. This who did it. This is where they're going. This is where they threw the gun. We want that type of technology. But and I think people are starting to understand well, this right here is the start of the work.
Sure.
This is the start of the work.
Well, I view it as a tool. I view it as a tool. You still need personnel to respond to those incidents.
Yeah.
So, right now we sit at 11 openings. I have 11 vacancies within the division. I am budgeted at 87. Now that is from the police chief all the way down to the newest officer.
Yeah.
But so I have 11 vacancies that I have to fill. So, I could have the whole city of Mansfield covered in ShotSpotter. It still does me no good if I don't have officers.
If you don't have the personnel.
So unless those sensors can jump off of poles, and put somebody in cuffs,
exactly,
that does me no good. So it definitely tells us where where gunplay is happening.
Yeah, yeah.
So the other thing that I like about the technology, it's able to filter fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
So we know if it's fireworks versus a handgun. I can tell if it's rifle fire or automatic.
Yeah.
Weapons. So that's huge for the officers if they're responding, and if we know that there's a fully automatic weapon involved.
Yes.
Could change the responses on how we're arriving to that scene.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
Especially with the 4th of July coming up.
Oh yes.
You're gonna get a lot of that thing
Absolutely.
going on. So I just heard you. You were kind of telling me about your recruiting numbers and stuff like that. Going into that, and I hear we're doing some recruiting right now.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So we're currently we have our entrance exam. Our test is we're going to get ready to give here July 22nd.
Yeah.
So I would encourage any folks that are interested to take our entrance exam.
Yeah.
You have to be below the age of 40.
Yeah.
So we'll pay for you to go to the academy, and we even have a $15,000 sign-on bonus right now. So if our deadline for that application process is July 14th.
Okay.
The test is July 22nd.
Right.
So come wear the best suit in town.
You know it.
Yeah.
And talking about more recruitment, diversity.
Yes.
So when we talk about recruitment, we talk about diversity, and people talk about what the police need to do, and the police having change, and the police is not for one race or one culture or stuff like that. But as a diverse group, like, are we seeing people come out to be a part of the change? How does that look? So
absolutely, that I believe a police department should be reflective of the community it serves. Correct. There's no doubt about it. And I am 100% for that change. Yeah. So I believe we have always lacked in our minority recruitment. So I would love to have folks just as myself, born and raised in Mansfield, to come on and serve the citizens of Mansfield. Exactly. So I to the evil side of the house of the folks that always can say, well, that the police need to do this or the police need to do that, where you have critics. Well, come be that change.
There you go. You go.
Come and change your neighborhood.
Yes.
Come and change the city of Mansfield.
Yes.
There's, believe me, no better place that you can do that, or one of the places, is by being a police officer and making positive change within the city and being a role model. Yes. So I have talked to the pastors, the minister, the NAACP. We put our notification out, and I don't know what else further we can do to draw the minority interest to the police department. Yeah. So it's definitely it needs to be a community working together to solve that. It is. So and maybe there's issues. I hear issues of trust. Yeah. Yeah. And and I understand. Until you trust something. Yeah. Then strong relationships are built. Correct. When folks trust each other. Yeah. And a part of that is the community policing philosophy. Yeah. At a time when I came on Mansfield Police, we were at 102 officers. We had 17 officers dedicated to community policing who were on foot, who are on bikes, who are in the neighborhoods on foot, getting to know the kids, getting to know the neighbors. Do you get to know a police officer when they drive by in a police car? No. I say no. You don't. Yeah. So, but that's the reality that I have to live now, because it feels like I'm plugging holes into a dam. Yeah. I have to get officers to the calls for service. Yeah. But any good police department, the cornerstones of that police department should be engaging with youth, engaging with the neighborhoods, being involved in neighborhood watch, and be involved with the citizens in the community. 100%. Yes. Absolutely.
Yes. One thing a lot we talk about when we talk about diversity. So we talk about like a lot of other cities. You really see more, in my opinion. Like we talk about some of those big cities, and like Chicago, New York, and even we want to talk about Cleveland, Columbus, it gets bigger. The diversity gets bigger in the neighborhoods, and it's like, because they're looking at it like that. Like if I want my community to change, like I need to, apply what I need to apply. And it's bigger than that. It may start in a police uniform and lead to a lawyer's suit.
Sure, absolutely.
In the court or to a judge's robe. It's like it's no. I don't, one thing as a black man myself, it's like it's no limitation on what change we can make, but we gotta be willing to make the change. And that's coming from, it's nothing a person can't turn around.
Sure.
Reform, which actually that's something I'm gonna be doing later on in the future. One of my episodes is talking about reform, talking to the reform, former inmates, former people who just were on the wrong side and changed their life. I love reform because reform lets you know that you wised up, and that's very important. And to sit here and have this conversation with you, Chief, I'm gonna tell you, like, a lot of people wouldn't be able to put on the shoes I'm putting on to have this conversation because they were, what do you mean?
Yeah,
we need to have this conversation, and I have no problem having it, and it's just about having that encouragement for people saying, you know what, Ryan, like they told me, like, have that conversation. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I'm behind you. No matter if ain't nobody behind you. I'm behind you with having that conversation, and because of the phobia.
Sure.
The phobia, the police. You talk, it's stuff like that. But it's like I'm a person that wants to see a world in a city where my son and my daughter get to grow up with and have a good quality of life, as we said. And that's very important to me, and I believe that should be important to everybody.
Absolutely.
So I definitely thank you for coming on
here
to the show today. Once again, I'd like to thank Police Chief Keith Porch for coming on. This is Ryan James. This has been UPNO Live. Thank you guys for watching. See ya. Peace.